Alden Partridge did not just challenge West Point, he spent the rest of his life proving that ordinary citizens, properly educated and trained, could be the backbone of America's defense and democracy. Welcome to the Celebrating America 250 podcast. This series is dedicated to the men and women who wore the uniform and then went on to build, invent, and lead in ways that reshaped our nation. Across these episodes, we honor veteran innovators from every era of American history, warriors who became entrepreneurs, engineers, organizers, and visionaries, carrying the mindset of service into factories, farms, shipyards, laboratories, and boardrooms. In each short story, we will trace a simple arc: where they came from, how they served, the moment they pivoted to civilian life, what they built, and the legacy they left behind for all of us. This is not just about dates and titles. It is about courage under fire, resilience in transition, and the quiet, determined work of building a stronger country in peacetime. Interesting fact. When Alden Partridge was forced out as superintendent of West Point in 1817 and court-martialed for refusing to surrender command, many assumed his career in military education was over. Instead, he went home to Vermont, founded a rival academy in a small hill town, and ignited a movement that still shapes ROTC programs and citizen soldier education across the United States today. This is the story of how one disgraced officer rebuilt American military education from outside the system. Early life and background. Alden Partridge was born in 1785 in Norwich, Vermont, into a family with deep revolutionary roots. His father, Samuel Patridge, Jr., had fought at the battles of Saratoga. Growing up on a Vermont farm, he absorbed the idea that defense of the Republic was a citizen's duty, not the job of a distant professional elite. Partridge entered the United States Military Academy at West Point and graduated in 1806, joining the Army Corps of Engineers at a time when the young nation desperately needed surveyors, fortification designers, and mathematically trained officers. By his early 20s, he was already an assistant professor of mathematics at West Point, teaching future officers how to calculate trajectories, design defenses, and understand the terrain they might one day fight over. These early years fused frontier practicality with rigorous technical education, forming the intellectual toolkit he would later carry far beyond the Hudson River. Leadership under pressure. Inside the Army, Partridge rose quickly. He served as an instructor, then as acting superintendent, and from 1814 to 1817 as superintendent of the United States Military Academy. At West Point, he was responsible not just for discipline, but for curriculum and the overall philosophy of how America should train its officers. He also served on the Boundary Commission that surveyed the line between the United States and Canada, applying engineering skills in rugged conditions that mirrored the operational environments his cadets would face. But Partridge's vision clashed with a growing professional military mindset modeled on European academies like the École Polytechnique. He believed a standing officer class insulated from ordinary citizens threatened the Republic's democratic character. Faculty critics argued that his administration lacked European-style rigor, and by 1816, the tension was so high that a court of inquiry was convened. It cleared him of mistreating cadets, but did not end the institutional pushback. Partridge emerged from these years convinced that the real battle was not just over tactics and drills, but over who should wield military power in a free country. Carrying that mindset into civilian life. In 1817, President James Monroe appointed Sylvanus Thayer, Partridge's former student but superior in rank, as the new superintendent of West Point. Partridge refused to step aside, briefly reassuming command and triggering a formal court-martial for insubordination and neglect of duty. He was convicted and sentenced to be cashiered from the Army, a devastating outcome for any officer. Only Monroe's personal intervention remitted the sentence, allowing Patridge to resign instead in 1818. He left West Point, vowing to break what he saw as the government's monopoly on military education and to prove that states and communities could train their own officers. In New York City, he began drilling volunteer infantry and delivering public lectures on military science, fortification, and education, laying out a radical alternative. A republic defended by educated citizen soldiers embedded in civilian life. The pivot was clear. He would no longer try to reform West Point from within. He would build a competing model from the outside. 5. Build. What he invented, founded, or grew. In 1819, Partridge turned philosophy into brick and timber by founding the American Literary, Scientific, and Military Academy in Norwich, Vermont, the school that would evolve into Norwich University. Within 4 years, 480 students from 21 of the 24 states in the Union had attended, an extraordinary reach for a small rural academy. He later moved the school to Connecticut and then back to Vermont, where it was reincorporated as Norwich University in 1834, one of America's first engineering-oriented military colleges. Partridge did not stop with one campus. Over subsequent decades, he founded or led 6 additional military colleges in states including Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Hampshire, and he traveled widely as an instructor to state militias. His educational blueprint was decades ahead of its time. He insisted on mens sana in corpore sano, a sound mind in a sound body, making physical training and long-distance marches as central as mathematics, engineering, natural science, and political economy. He advocated elective studies, industrial education, and scientific agriculture, outlining in an 1820 lecture a model of agricultural and mechanical education that anticipated the federal land-grant university system by more than 40 years. Personally, he modeled the physical rigor he preached, known to walk 60 to 70 miles a day on surveying and training excursions, once averaging 54 miles daily for 3 straight days across the Green Mountains with a knapsack and barometer in hand. In effect, Partridge built a distributed network of institutions where young Americans could become both educated citizens and disciplined soldiers without severing their ties to civilian communities. How it changed lives, industry, and community. When Alden Partridge died in Norwich, Vermont in January 1854, newspapers remembered him as an early West Point officer, a longtime superintendent, and the founder of military schools, extensively known throughout the Republic. Today, Norwich University stands as the oldest private military college in the United States, and Partridge is widely regarded as a spiritual father of the Reserve Officers Training Corps, formalized in 1916 but built on his principle that officer education belongs in civilian colleges as well as federal academies. ROTC programs, directly influenced by his ideas, have produced more than 600,000 officers, including Army Chiefs of Staff and Chairmen of the Joint Chiefs, many of whom carried Partridge's citizen-soldier ethos into both military command and civilian leadership. His emphasis on physical education helped normalize the gymnasium and organized exercise as core elements of modern schooling, while his early advocacy for practical science and agriculture helped shape the mission of land-grant universities that drove American industrial and agricultural growth. For veterans and founders today, Partridge's life offers a powerful framework. Challenge systems that drift away from their democratic purpose, build alternative institutions that live your values, and embed military-grade discipline into organizations that serve civilians as well as soldiers. From West Point parade grounds to Norwich drill fields and ROTC classrooms across the country, Alden Partridge shows how one officer's refusal to accept an aristocracy of arms could give generations of citizens a new way to learn, to lead, and to defend a free republic.